Hi, I'm Paul. I have a little bit of a cold, so apologies if I hock a loogie. I lead the San Francisco office of CapitalOne Labs and have just spent the last year of my life trying to build a new API platform to support CapitalOne's credit and banking businesses. Now, that's a big concept, and some of you may be thinking closed financial institution, open API, there's all kinds of wrong with that. So for the next 10 minutes, I'll just try and kind of tell you our story and explain why it actually makes a ton of sense. Unless you've been hidden in your bedroom playing your Ice Mage for the last few years, you're probably aware that the financial services industry is at an inflection point. A couple years ago, unlike our competitors who were still reeling from the market crash, CapitalOne found itself in a really great position. We had not engaged in risky mortgages or derivatives and were healthy and profitable enough to invest really heavily in our digital future in a very serious way. Some of you may have heard of our acquisition of ING Direct last year, which brought us 8 million digital customers and made us the nation's largest direct bank. On a smaller scale, management also wanted to make changes in the way that we thought about product development, internally and externally. They wanted to create a way for the company to think and build like a startup. So our unit, CapitalOne Labs, was born. Did that work? Great. So over the last year or so, the lab has been building a small team of folks who never thought that they would take a job at a Fortune 100 company, myself included. Each of us has in some way struck out on our own in the past with some creative endeavor, and we're now unified by a desire to make some really cool shit. Right now, you can see, as you can tell from our mascot, the Boy Genius, we take our jobs very seriously. And we have quite a job. We currently find ourselves smack in the middle of a primordial goo of financial innovation. To the left, we have old friends that seem to be changing their tune. Both Visa and MasterCard have built digital wallets that obscure our brand in favor of their own. PayPal has seeded an entirely new payment rail and backs it up with its own credit program. To the right, we feel heat from a multitude of creative new startups, some of them with bubblicious valuations, worthy of Facebook. Square now processes billions in payments and has created the concept of pay by face. Level Up continues to buy their way into the market by waiving interchange fees entirely. Boku lets you pay with your mobile phone, skipping the credit card altogether. And I'm sure in the time that I've started this speech, there have been a couple more apps that have been funded, and I look forward to learning and forgetting their names. Front and center are Valley giants that, of course, want in on the action and more specifically the data. Google collects it as you use your wallet. Facebook is trying to find ways for you to share it openly. And Apple also wants a wallet, but will insist on calling it Passbook so that they and you can feel way cooler. There's no question the consumer has options. And every one of these new entrants wants to be the next big brand that makes us an irrelevant commodity. As a top 5 bank and a top 5 credit card issuer, we're one of the incumbents, and we're ripe for disruption. So the question is, are we scared? Scared probably isn't the right word for it. I think it's more like fascinated. I mean, don't get me wrong, we've definitely got our ears to the ground, but we've also kind of taken a more progressive view about this. I mean, think about it. There's a reason that incumbents are really hard to take down. We've already got the customers, more than 60 million who know and trust our brand. We've already got the data in petabytes, warehoused in a form that we can actually analyze. We've already got the infrastructure to make sure that our customers' money and privacy are safeguarded to the highest standards. So we've already got what all these new entrants are struggling to achieve. Shame on us if we can't figure out what to do with it. So yes, like a newlywed couple who saved themselves from marriage, we are trying. Most people don't know this, but CapitalOne itself began as a startup less than 20 years ago, founded by a Stanford GSB grad named Rich Fairbank, who is still our CEO. It began with a disruptive innovation, offering credit cards with APRs personalized to individual levels of risk. A few years later, there was another innovation, the concept of a balance transfer, which allowed customers to move their outstanding balances to a competitive card with a lower APR. CapitalOne is a company full, and honestly, this was a surprise to me when I interviewed, full of incredibly smart, ambitious people who truly want to innovate the best customer experiences. We're also smart enough to recognize that we have a much better chance of succeeding if we work together and co-develop with all the creative minds out there instead of fearing them. To this end, we've built an API platform. And I'll say it again, CapitalOne has built an API platform. And I think that's worth repeating because I'm tremendously proud of the barriers that our team has had to fight to get this done in a pretty short amount of time. And some of you devs in the audience might be rolling your eyes thinking, well, what's the big deal? They wrote some code and slapped some documentation on it. But since this is BAPI, I'm hoping that there's some of you in the audience that have worked with big company IT systems and all the processes related to them and are nodding your heads. We didn't pick just the easy APIs that look up some value off a static data table. We designed strategic APIs that tap deep into CapitalOne's core to really empower our partners to come up with awesome new experiences. So over the next few months, we'll be going to market with some initial use cases, but BAPI seemed like a great opportunity to kind of give a preview of what we've been building. First up is what we call our Deals API. So everyone now from Groupon to Best Buy and MasterCard has a Deals API. And the difference here is that our deals are personalized by a proprietary targeting engine that we built in-house. So while everyone else is out there trying to collect the data, we're using it. We're using it to target customers at the individual level with deals they'll find relevant. And the targeting matters. The more relevant a deal, the more likely a customer is to like it and redeem it, and the more likely you are to earn an affiliate fee for showing it to them. We know that we're not always going to reach the customer exactly where and when they're shopping, but if you can, we should definitely talk. And it's worth mentioning that we do this without sharing a single byte of transaction data with our partners. So privacy counts. Next up is our Rewards API, and this is a really interesting one because people don't often think about rewards as money. I mean, CapitalOne customers are sitting on billions of dollars of purchasing power in the form of unspent points and miles that many customers never even think to use. Because they don't think of them as real money, they'll spend it freely when it's easy for them to do. If you're in the business of selling something, wouldn't you want the customer to see this play money at your checkout? Our Rewards API lets you implement pay with points in real time, on the spot. It's no secret that empirically this type of implementation has resulted in higher conversion rates and higher average basket sizes for online retailers. Whether you're selling hard goods or a virtual tractor in a make-believe agricultural paradise, we can help you convert the folks who can't bring themselves to hit the button with real money. And the last one I'll share is our OAuth, which is a key foundational element that lets the customer control who they share sensitive information with. OAuth is now everywhere, as you all know. Every time you log into an app with Facebook, you openly share that you like Nicki Minaj. And Facebook has de facto become the gateway to your social identity. We believe that there's a part of you that you don't want to share so casually, that doesn't really mix with the social. Your financial identity is more private, more consequential, and frankly, more important to safeguard. As a financial institution, we're entrusted with that identity by our customers, and our OAuth exists to help manage it in a way that's less casual and more transparent. CapitalOne can become the gateway to experiences that actually have material impact. So these APIs are just a first step. We're definitely still in beta, definitely evolving, definitely open to feedback. There will be more APIs to come as we learn what works and what could be even more powerful. But you know, I'm really optimistic about what this platform represents. I think in a couple years' time, I would not be surprised if, just as you were about to make that splurge purchase at Bloomie's, you were prompted by your phone to pay with rewards points on the spot. I would not be surprised if you could log on to CapitalOne and find a list of all the restaurants you might like in a mile's radius based on where you've eaten before and get personalized deals for those restaurants. I would not be surprised if any number of new payment apps in the primordial goo use the CapitalOne OAuth to lower fraud and boost security. I would not be surprised at all if this platform allowed us to become known as the card to have in your wallet for the best digital experiences. So I very much want to leave this with an open invitation to startups and companies, large or small, it doesn't matter, anyone who's passionate and serious about helping people manage their money more easily. We're looking for smart partners to come make an impact with us and with our customers. Thanks in part to Mastery. We've got the platform to support you. I hope you'll come and check us out. Thank you very much.
Ask him a few questions.
First of all, can you tell me how many rewards I have on my CapitalOne card?
Yes, I've got it programmed into my mouth.
What percentage of rewards are untitled? It's fairly high.
There's several different demographics. So there's a population of people that are very aware of their points and very into optimizing them, but actually that's a much smaller percentage than people think. There's another population that really has a lot of points sitting there and they don't really know how to use it, or they know how to use it, but they don't really want to go on the site and figure it out.
And your goal is to interest them in doing that, make it much easier for them, and build loyalty, I assume?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a feedback loop. I think that the more people find that it's easy to use their points, the more they remember that it's CapitalOne that gave them to them, and the more they'll want to use their card, hopefully.
So tell us a little bit about kind of internally how you pushed this forward and sort of the discussions around, well, what are we willing to put out there and what are we not willing to put out there?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And that's what I was alluding to, is that it's been a real challenge to sort of internally socialize the idea of an open API platform in an industry that's so guarded and so highly regulated. I think that's taken a lot of the work in getting all the right groups within the company that make sure that your money is safe, to say, okay, we can control the exposure in a way that is in our customers' best interest.
So can you be more specific? Like give examples, and they can be fuzzy ones, sure, around the discussions, like what is something that we're not willing to share? How do you kind of draw the lines there?
Yeah, an easy one is our deals API. So, I mean, we're sitting on tons of data, and it's pretty popular thought that data is pretty valuable. So, in our own interest and also in the interest of our customers, there's no way we would want to give that to external parties. So we designed an API that lets people leverage that data and the targeting power of that data without actually explicitly having it. So that very much went into the thinking of our Deals API design.
And you mentioned opening up to developers now, and what's in it for developers? I mean, John earlier talked about the various business models and incentives for developers. How are you guys thinking about that?
Yeah, this is a little different. I mean, we're not necessarily charging for API call. It's not that kind of direct model. I think it's more one of those indirect models that he's talking to. For the Deals API, it's an affiliate model. So if you present an API to a customer and they end up redeeming that deal, there's an affiliate fee to be earned. For the Rewards API, I think it's really about taking that buying power and directing it to whatever you're selling. I think if you think about how many people really don't want to spend real money on that Farmville good or that virtual good in whatever game they're playing.
I think it's crazy to spend real money on virtual good ever.
I mean, you're not alone. You're not alone. But I mean, once you put that button next to it that says, "Hey, you can get this basically for free by using your reward points," it's a different world.
And are you sensing? I mean, on let's say it's Farmville's site, does Farmville have to know that I'm a CapitalOne customer, or does everyone see that option?
I think that's something that we would present to most people. I think that you would self-identify as a customer, but to pay with those points, you would use our OAuth and log in.
How are you going to measure success here? This is a new venture for you guys.
Yeah. I think that the success is measured really by the customer experience and whether there's something out there that really makes a splash in terms of, is this something that the customer is delighted by and says, wow, I can't believe that Capital One gave this to us. And so we're very interested in being out there and partnering with people who can actually conceive of those experiences and working with them to develop a model that works for both partners.
And are there other areas that you're willing to talk about where you guys are thinking about opening up APIs? It might be too early, but I have to ask.
No, that's a fair question. And there's a lot of space to play here. I mean, I think the big obvious one is payments. And there are already multiple payment APIs out there. And I think we're in a position to possibly create one that is more advantageous in certain ways. And that's all I'll say.
So you're going to join the goo.
We're already in the goo. We are the goo.
Yeah. Well, thanks very much, Paul.
All right. Thank you.